Evening and welcome to Sports Unplugged. Myself and Chris tonight, and Oisin has got the first comment in on the night, and he's dead right, to be fair. Evening, all strange weekend of Premier League football action. Hopefully our game serves the COVID chaos, although it's starting to hit us.
Yeah. I mean, look, we don't like talk. We normally don't get into this, Kev, but we may as well. I mean, there is talk now that we've had another 2 or 3 go down, as well as the 3 we've got, which when you get to that sort of number, that's when games go at risk. And, it's a killer for, if it gets postponed, it's a killer for both sides, because it's a killer for us because it kills momentum, and it's a backlog we've got to deal with later. And it's a real killer for Spurs, because I mean, what's that now? That'd be 4 games they're going to make up.
3 league games plus the Europa Conference game, which I think they've written off.
Yeah, so
this would be 4.
Yeah, 4 games to make up. Now, assuming they're out of the Europa Conference, because I think that'll just go to a try and just get boxed. That's a horrible one to put in. But then we've got the Leicester game, and Leicester in an even worse state than we are. So that's going to get postponed if we can't fulfill this fixture because of COVID. So
anyway, rewind back a sec. What do you guys think of the new intro in the chat? I was absolutely buzzing when I saw it first. I absolutely love it. It is hopefully where we want to take the show, and as we evolve and me and Chris get better at doing this, I just absolutely love it. What do you guys in the chat think? Because Gav sourced it out and approved it all, so me and Chris are absolutely delighted with it. Yeah.
It's got a different feel to it, and it's probably where you and me want to go, which is there will be footy chat, because let's be fair, we both love talking about football, but we do like looking at other sports, other icons. I love a bit of a wild person anyway, so So it gives us a different option. It kind of goes with the feel of the show, which we're trying to go for at the moment.
Yeah, well, this is a bit of a weird one, because there's only 5 Premier League games, and to be fair, I'm about the coolest 50-year-old on this channel, mate. So that's about nearly 50.
Yeah, we're talking about 5 games, but
5 games.
I'd say one thing: we're saying 5.
Yeah, it's day by day, isn't it? We don't know.
Day by day, hour by hour. Laura Duffy with the perfect one. Did you notice there wasn't F1 in there for bracket? Absolutely, because it's not a sport.
We'll get there.
No, you won't get me there.
It's only about 88 days before the season starts again, so that'll come around quick.
Not enough days, as far as I'm concerned. 88 years will do me.
I mean, before we came on tonight, 9 o'clock, I thought, look, there's nothing on. I'll flick on the darts. I haven't watched darts in yonks. Last time I watched darts, Van Gerwen was dominating. Taylor had just retired. Barneveld was still playing. And I just fell out of love with it, because, to be honest, I think what Hearn did with the Premier League was really good. But for me, it was just too much. It was too much show and the nicknames and all that. It was just, I lost interest in it. But I watched that game tonight. And 2 young kids, I think the Bowden, the Scottish kids or something like that. He won it with a 9-darter. 25 years of age, first game at the World Championship. 2-2, 2 all in legs. Last leg decider. He won it with a 9-darter. I'm like, I'm going to have to seriously get back into watching darts again, because that was just crazy. It was a great game. What about yourself? What was that? Do you follow it, or
I used to? Yeah, I used to. I remember Phil Taylor, but he used to do me. I used to watch it till Phil Taylor got beat. He's just a bit of a narc, really, because I couldn't be doing with him. So I kind of just, it's one of those, if it was on, I'd watch it, but I wouldn't go out my way to watch it. It's one of those sports I've always thought I wouldn't mind going to see it live, actually, because I think that's where darts is at its best. Because I think it is just quite interactive, it gets everyone going, and I think it's just a good night out.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably enjoy it more in person.
I think I just need to get back into the players again, and getting into it. But Barry's spot on it. It was an unreal 9-darter because it was so quick. Jake, that's not sports. Unfortunately, Jake Paul against Woodley. That's just pay-per-view nonsense. The other fight, Parker Chisora, that could be interesting. It depends on what it's always the case with Chisora. It depends on what Derek Chisora turns up. The problem is now at his age, I think you get Derek Chisora for 4 rounds. You get him lively for 4 rounds, and that's it. Parker is a very good boxer. He should have enough to dispose of Derek Chisora. He needs a win. I mean, it should be career ending for both, but both are still attractive paydays in the heavyweight division. You know, so they'll still go on and be a fight that someone will always want to take on. But I've got a real problem with the likes of Jake Paul and his ilk, basically using boxing as a platform to earn crazy money with very limited skill when you've got proper boxers on cards up and down the country who earn peanuts and train their socks off and have talent but don't have the promotion or the hype behind them. And it pisses me off, to be honest.
I still get the impression that the guys he boxes probably could hurt him, but don't, because it's almost like don't humiliate him because it's the payday I need. Which is kind of not what you want, really. So look, it doesn't interest me. It's like I've actually got more into UFC because of it. Because you watch it, I just switch off to it, going like,
watched it last week, and Amanda Nunes was beaten by Pena. Massive shock, huge shock, and I was watching it with Callum Sanderson's stream on, and the boys on the stream were just gobsmacked. Couldn't believe what they saw. All tailor-made for a rematch. That'll definitely happen. But it's always going to be a problem for someone like Amanda Nunes in the UFC, who's a 2-weight champion and who fights at 2 weights and is up and down in the weights regularly. That at some point someone is going to catch her. And once Pena got her onto the ground, she was phenomenal. She was unbelievable. And look, the main event, brilliant. But for me, the Nunes moment was the standout moment of the night for the card for me. It was if you haven't seen it, I'd imagine it's on BT Sports YouTube channel, free to watch. So I just go back and watch it. It was
they don't repeat the pay-per-views like a week later.
No, they stick them on their YouTube channel though. So okay. It is worth digging them out and having a look. Dave, as usual, look, it's 10 o'clock, man. You missed the golf chat. We were chatting about the pro and the father-son thing, and you
missed all my best stuff, Dave.
Yeah, Tiger Woods and his son. Yeah, sorry, Dave. Next week, mate. Next week.
Honestly. It's more chance we talk about Formula 1.
All right. There's a couple of things we want to get into later on. We're going to have a quick chat about the Ashes, but we're going to chat about Shane Warne later on. So, look, we'll get to him later. We'll get to Shane Warne because there's a theme around what we want to try and do with the channel. We need your guys in the chat. We need you guys in the chat to help us out with this because it's going to be a long boil over a couple of months into the summer that we're going to do this. But in the end, there is a payoff. But yeah, pretty much.
And F1.
Yeah, no, let's not get carried away. Let's not get silly here. Right, look, we'll get into the football. There's 5 games on as we speak.
So far.
That could all change because of COVID and what have you, but it is what it is for now. Aston Villa against Burnley.
I think Burnley.
Despite the results against us, Gerrard's done really well since he's gone in there, hasn't he?
Well, to be fair to him, the only games he's lost is to us and City. I think politely, whoever was manager of Villa will probably say we're probably going to lose Liverpool and City. So City, especially away games, they're probably thinking if we get a draw, that's a bonus. But he's won all the games that you thought Dean Smith should win. So he's done what he needs to do. Done a bit more entertaining. Ramsey's goal against Norwich was an absolute beaut.
He's a bit of a player, isn't he?
Yeah, he
They've got a
looks a
good
real
academy
talent.
there. We
They always
saw it when we played him in the Youth Cup.
Yeah, they've always had a good academy, Villa, to be fair. So
Yeah,
I mean, with Ramsey, though, you could play him wide, or you could play him as an 8.
yeah,
Look, it's the sort of player Klopp would like. He loves players who can do 2 or 3 things. Elliot can do
yeah.
that. Play wide. He's probably better in the 8, but that's what he likes to do with players. We saw it with Genie. Yeah, Genie can play 8, can play 6, or can cover the front. Or, that's what he likes. He loves players who are quality in 2 or 3 positions. So Villa, the challenge for Villa would be to keep hold of someone like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say for Ramsey's development, Villa's perfect because he's playing regularly. He's getting to do what he wants. There's always a sweet spot with young players. Is if you are going to move on, like Grealish did to City, pick your moments when you've kind of established what you are as a player, as a person. So you can take, not always starting every week, or you can take the hardship a little bit back. Barry though does point out, Marvelous Nakamba is out for 4 months, which is
he needs surgery, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was a blow because he's another player who's been decent.
He's done all right. He's probably got the best name in football.
Oh yeah, you should just sign him just for his name.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Just put him on the back of a shirt. Fantastic. But yeah, he's been all right this season, and that position for what is looking like how Gerrard wants to.
I thought his name. I thought Red Steve's back. I thought he was just Steve. Has he forgot his name?
No, just leave him alone.
Come on, he agreed. He changed his name to just Steve. So come on, can't change it. Well, that's why we do football first, Steve, because give it half an hour. We might be down to 2 games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of how it's going at the moment. Not to joke about it, but it seems like every hour something changes. That's how dramatic it is at the moment.
I'm trying to avoid social media for the leaks, but it's hard to ignore them. And look, the leaks are already out there about us at the minute with
Henderson and Salah relates to, aren't they?
Jordan Henderson and Mo Salah are the latest rumoured.
And we still don't know with the other 3 that will confirm what their PCR test is. So,
yeah,
did they come back negative? I mean, look, Klopp was realistic. It's highly unlikely because it happens. I mean, I think it's happened with Pep that he gave an inconclusive reading, but then they did the PCR test and it came back.
But didn't they declare Pep's as inconclusive?
Yeah.
And he was just it was a precaution rather than anything else. With ours, it was.
But he's okay to go to that. Well, the rumor is that Salah's is inconclusive, so they're doing a second test on Salah, but the other 4 are out. And look, they're the ones we know about. But as we know what's going on at the moment, it spreads through clubs very, very quickly. So
it does, yeah.
But I mean, Klopp spoke about it today, didn't he? And he was saying, they asked about what to think about postponements, and he was a bit like, and I get what he's coming from. He said like, I don't see the benefit because I think what he's saying is, if we postpone the leagues for 2 weeks, it's still going to be there in 2 weeks' time, and then we're kicking the congestion problem down the road. But as he did say at the moment, he said we were fine for Newcastle, but he said if we get to another 3 or 4 out, he said we will struggle to do fixtures then, and that's when we'll have to have the conversation with the league.
And like we see with Manchester United, it's not a case that you missed that game. You're missing up to 10 days. I mean, look, I'll go back to something I saw on Sky Sports News earlier on today, right? And it blew my mind. In Spain and Italy, the amount of players in Serie A who are double vaccinated is 96%. Spain is 92%. Now, these figures are from November, okay? But look, hopefully they've gotten more by now. The Premier League is 68%, and the Championship is 59%. That is nothing short of disgraceful. In this day and age, with the access to medical expertise that these players have, the fact that 2/3 or a third of all Premier League players are still unvaccinated is mind-boggling, to say the least. Now, I've got a real problem with clubs being transparent. I really, really am a big, huge fan of what Klopp did. Had no problem naming the players who were missing he had no problem saying the reason why they were missing, because they were as if it was a broken toe or a pulled hamstring. You'd have no problem saying a player was injured. In COVID, it's almost a case where clubs are trying to hide something. I don't get what they're trying to hide. If you have tested positive for COVID, fine, deal with it. It stops the rumors and it stops the gossip. And it stops the notion and the idea that's out there that clubs are trying to manipulate this to cover for injuries and to cover for anything else. And at least if clubs are honest and transparent about, we have 5, 6, 7 first team squad players who've played in the last month absent with COVID related issues, clubs know where they are. As soon as the team sheet was announced, they couldn't hide it anyway. You know, it's just mind-boggling to me.
But as someone saying in the chat, and the other point is, it is your personal choice if you want to take a vaccine or not. There's no law that says you have to take a vaccine.
Not yet. There should be, but there isn't.
Well,
in my opinion, there should be. I'm past being nice about this now.
Yeah.
I fully agree with what the Germans and the French and the Belgians and the Dutch are doing. And if you don't like it, then exclude yourself from society, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
but that's just me.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get back to the footy. Let's get back to the footy because every show gets dominated.
I mean, look,
by this conversation about
Burnley have actually got two football injuries. Cornet and Barnes are out. They've got some COVID issues as well. But so do Villa. Apparently, Villa have 4 COVID-related issues. But the form they're in, and Burnley are struggling for points. I've Villa down at 2-0. I can't. I can't see it any other way.
I can't see it than a Villa win. You know, Burnley are like, I don't know, like Newcastle, like Norwich, like Watford, Southampton. They're all in that mix. Leeds are probably still in the mix. I think they've got enough to stay up, but they are where they are in the league, so they're in the conversation. Everton are pretty close, you know, to being in that sort of mix as well. Again, I don't think Everton and Leeds will go down, but they're one of those teams that, like I said, they're in the relegation battle, but they're not the ones you think will go down. Do you think they'd have a bit too much? But Burnley, I think are gonna have a challenge. You know, Burnley been there a few times, so we'll see what happens. Dan Bailey saying which 4? I assume it's about the Liverpool. The 3 that are already out that we know about, and the rumor is Henderson and Salah are also potentially out. But look, they're the rumors. Yeah. So look, we'll find out. So we'll find out Sunday if the game happens or not. But we will see.
I think, to be fair, I think the club will come out and just say tomorrow if there's a lateral flow test, because they've been fairly straight with it so far. I don't think Klopp has any media duties tomorrow, so
no, he did his media duties today, didn't he?
Yeah, you'll know pretty much by who's in the travelling party and who isn't. You know, I mean, what have you got Villa Burnley down for? I've got them down as
2-1 Villa.
Yeah.
Laura's going right here. Everton and Leeds might not go down, but they're making it extremely uncomfortable for themselves. Yeah, that's what I mean. They're just putting themselves in a bit of stress that they probably don't want.
They're up next, actually. Leeds, Arsenal. And to me, it seems that Arsenal, since they've put Aubameyang out of the equation, they've almost come together. They're much more cohesive on the pitch with Lacazette through the middle. Whether it's a case that Lacazette gives them that fulcrum for others to play off, be it with Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe when he comes on, the young Brazilian kid, Martinelli, yeah. He's had some horrific injuries over the past few years.
Yeah, if he can stay injury free, you know, he's got all the talent. I remember seeing him in the 5-5 League Cup game, and he was one of Arsenal's best players. He was brilliant.
He's still only young, and he's
only like
21, something like that.
Yeah, he's still only a kid. So you know, if you're gonna get, he's at a young age when you tend to recover from them. But like I said, you can't have too many, or they'll cause you problems. David Lennon, absolutely not. We're not talking about bloody white pudding or black pudding or any crap like that.
Look, for you guys, it's not really white pudding in the UK, is it? You guys call it hog's pudding.
I don't know what we call it. I don't eat it. Ugh, absolutely vile.
Stuff, man.
No, it's vile. My thing with Arsenal is, I think the Aubameyang thing's a bit of a red herring because Arsenal are what they are. They've gone back to being the flat track bullies, which is anybody in the bottom half they'll beat. Anybody who gives them half game in the top half, they really struggle against. Us, City, Chelsea will cause them trouble. United will cause them trouble. Villa will cause them trouble. But when they play like Norwich or Burnley, they just find a way.
Yeah.
So I sort of think routine 2-0 Arsenal. I think Leeds' injuries are killing them. They've got no focus points. I still think tactically they're not helping themselves, but it's hard to explain the tactics at the moment when you look at the lineup and going, so many missing. And they just play this way because literally that's all he's got, and it's kind of like make it work.
Yeah. Is it a case? Do they really need to do business whether they like it or not in January?
I think they do. They probably need 3 players. I would say they probably need another striking option, another solid midfielder, and they probably need someone who can a bit of a utility defensive player.
Yeah.
Well, it's I could pick those. You could pick those players out of thin air. Whether you find them.
Well, the thing is, Bielsa gave the stock answer, and it's the one that is as old as the hills. I don't want to sign anyone unless they're better than what I have. Well, what that sentence needs to finish with what's available to me. Do you get what I mean? It's one of those things that managers try to do to deflect the question away that they don't want to answer, but they know that it's a valid question.
Yeah.
And I think for some players at Leeds, it looks like it could be, maybe their last season. The likes. I think for Rodrigo, I think he's one. It needs to be his last season. Calvin Phillips, maybe, but they can't. They're not going to keep all of these players for everyone. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. They can't because partly because the way Leeds play, it takes a lot out of them, but also Leeds fans won't like this being said, but it's a sad truth. And reality is, players of the standard of Rafinha,
Rafinha as well. But I was talking about Rodrigo going back to Spain.
Yeah, I'm going to do I'm going to do relegation battles. He can play for European clubs. Liverpool would happily have him. I think he'd do well for Chelsea. He'd do well for United. He'd do well for West Ham. Clubs that are battling in Europe, he'd be perfect for. And look, Leeds. I mean, Leeds, don't get me wrong. If he decides to go, Leeds will command a ridiculous fee. Rightly so. But yeah, and I mean, there's some players where you sort of thinking like maybe their time's up with Leeds because perhaps they want to evolve and go to the next things. But we'll see. Look, I think my gut feeling is it just says 2-0 Arsenal.
I went 3-1. I think Leeds have a goal in them just because of the way they play, but I think they're going to be too open for Arsenal.
I think so.
I think Arsenal will just pick them off. They're in a decent run of form when they're playing against that caliber of side. And like you said, flat track bullies gets you 65, 70 points.
It potentially gets you top 4,
what I mean?
Which, to be honest, if Arsenal get 4th or 5th for where they've been the last 2 or 3 years, that's what they want.
Yeah, I still think they're best positioned because of the fact they don't have Europe. Their problem, and I think the Aubameyang issue out of the equation because Barcelona freeing up the Sergio Aguero wages. It may be a case that they could facilitate a deal to get him off the books.
Yeah, but he's still got a couple of years on his deal, so it'll still be
only 8 months.
It'll still be a decent fee though. Arsenal aren't going to give him away for cheap. They're not.
I don't know. I think the influence that he has around the club. I think Arteta could do without that kind of influence with the younger players that they have there. If they could get the rest of get the rest of the structure right. What they're building there is generally pretty good, to be fair. It's a lot of young players with high ceilings. It's just the problem, I think, is there's too many of them.
Yeah, there's that as well. And there's the age-old problem Arsenal have for the last couple of years is how long do they keep hold of them? Because they're going to wait for Smith Rowe and Saka to get to be like, the real main players,
Yeah.
But by the time they get to that level, Arsenal might not be in the position that they need to be in, and then you'll see other clubs sniffing around them. I mean, look, we've been there. It was only 4 or 5 years ago. We were having this thing where we were getting young players, Sterling doing really well for us.
Example, yeah.
And then he went to City. Why did he? And people don't like it, but Why did he go to City? Because he knew he'd win the title with City. Whereas Liverpool were like, we got second one year, then went back down to 8th. And he knew he'd win the league with City. And we don't like it, but I'm like, that's where we were. And, Arsenal still feel a little bit like that. And Dick was saying, did you hear about the protest from the LGBT fans cop-outs against Newcastle owner being allowed? I did read about it, yeah. So
I didn't. So do you want to fill me in on that? Because I didn't.
I only saw bits of it. So the cop-out group, I believe, did a protest before our game against Newcastle, against their owners being allowed to take over Newcastle with their opinions on how women and the LGBTQ plus, I was trying to make sure I get that right, community, which they've got perfectly valid reasons. Where it's awkward is, and I'm not sticking up for I agree why the protest, because I don't agree with their views at all. The Newcastle owners, some Newcastle owners get tarred with that brush, and I'm a bit like, well, they didn't pick the owners. And look, Newcastle could, if fans, if they want to, can campaign against the owners, but would it work? I don't know.
No.
So I think it's right that it's highlighted, because it should be, because
absolutely it should be.
In my opinion, their views are very backward and outdated. That's my opinion. If you don't like it, so be it.
Pretty much. I mean exactly that. But I mean, the argument was leveled at the Formula One drivers in the last 3 weeks of the season, because the last 3 weeks, the last 3 races are in the Middle East, being Qatar, Bahrain, and Abu Dhabi. And
didn't Lewis Hamilton wear a rainbow helmet?
He did.
As his protest, which...
and some of the other drivers spoke out and showed, symbolically protested what they could, but ultimately they're contracted pretty tightly to be there. It's going to be the same for the Newcastle players, that they're contracted to the club. They don't get to decide who the club's owners are. In the same way, the fans didn't get to decide who the new owners were going to be. They'll ride the gravy train, don't get me wrong. There were certain things that happened that came from the Newcastle fans that really boiled my blood, with some of the songs they were singing. And it seems to be a standing thing now. It's like you go through...
It's
the classic hits when you're coming to...
It's tied to the original. It's very small time. It's very small. It's very small club mentality. It kind of shows where you are as a club, because that's your thing. Let's because the world we're in, let's sing about poverty, because that's always a winner. And not being rude, but Wolves sang it. I heard them. We heard the Wolves sing it. Newcastle sang. I'm not being funny. They're not the most affluent of areas as well. They've got the same problems that a lot of the UK has. So, listen,
and to be fair,
I don't get it.
What highlighted it to me was it's obviously not all Newcastle fans. It's
of course
a cohort of the away fans, but the ones who called it out that I first saw was a Newcastle food bank who do work with Newcastle United, were furious that it was used at all. And the fact that Newcastle, like Liverpool, like most other clubs, do work with food banks up and down I cannot believe I left the UK in 2010 and food banks were a pop-up once in a while. Now they're more food banks than McDonald's. It's shameful. What's become.
If you're a first world country, the food bank should never be in existence. There should be we're going to political territory here, but I've never got my head around the fact that people keep saying, like, we're helping food banks, and they shouldn't exist. If you live in the likes of England, America, Ireland, Germany, France, Ireland, there should be things in place where people can have the basic things of food. Literally, I went to buy me Aldi, and I was like, do you know they do like little chocolate reindeers? And they were literally asking, do you want to buy a chocolate reindeer? And it was put in a trolley. So kids in our local area could have like something to open on Christmas Day. Yeah. How sad's that? There are kids like who live around me that if they're lucky, all they get for Christmas is a chocolate reindeer.
I'll tell you a story, right?
It's horrible.
When one of our children she was heavily pregnant at the time, so this is going back 1992-3. She was working for Co-op in a supermarket in the UK, and in Bristol they did a thing with the Lord Mayor's Trust that they used to provide families in dire need with vouchers to go to the co-op. And these kids came and used their vouchers not to buy food or anything like that. They came to buy a Christmas tree, not presents for the kids or anything like that. They came to buy a Christmas tree. And the kids were more excited about a Christmas tree than the idea of chocolate or sweets. She said to me, because she was the one who was at the till at the time that she saw him coming in. She knew the family. And she said the kids just zipped past every aisle right to the Christmas tree. It was 20 quid. It was 20 quid voucher, and it was a 20 quid tree. And she come home, and I think she sobbed for the night because she knew the family. She didn't know the circumstances.
Yeah.
And we have charities here in Ireland as well that do this kind of work quietly, and they're called St. Vincent de Paul. And they do this kind of work with families who are in dire need at this time of year. And you never know, it's crazy what families are going through at the minute. And the idea, food banks and the charities and the stuff like that, they'll never get enough recognition for the unbelievable work that they do. But the more help that can be given to them, the better for me. I just thought, look, I know we're a sports channel and everything like that, but some of the charity stuff that the guys have done over the last 12 months has been amazing. But it's just it's hitting me at this time of year anyway. That
I must admit, it does give me this time of year a bit of a reality check sometimes. Because look, we all have our concerns or money worries. Every person does about, and it's all proportioned to where you are in life. But there are times when you look at things like that, and you're sort of going like, my daughter gets fed every day. She gets to do lots of activities, and she won't go without this Christmas. And sometimes you're going like, what more do you need? You probably don't. And the nice things you worry about, you don't really need. They're nice to have, but does it really matter if you don't have the latest top tracksuit?
Yeah,
3,000.
There is like St. Vincent de Paul are an all year round charity. We have Cork Penny Dinners here in Cork that do all year round stuff for the homeless. But St. Vincent de Paul, I'm the same. They're the only charity that I'll do my best. I'll give to what I can when I can, and because they helped me out when I first moved over to the UK with help for the kids' school books. And I mean, they've had the money back tenfold since, but at the time, I didn't have a pot to piss in, and they helped me out, So when you're going past in the supermarkets and you see the bucket outside, chuck a couple of quid in. You never know who it's going to help.
Or like do all people do, if you're doing your food shops, buy one more thing and just put it on the food bank thing.
Basket,
Yeah, put it in the basket. Or look, loads who go to the matches, Liverpool, Everton, most clubs have big food banks, and they're all very well supported. Which helps.
And it's a good thing that the clubs probably do on the quiet, and I wish they'd make more of it, because by highlighting it and you're exposing it, it shouldn't. You're dead right in what you said at the start. It shouldn't be a thing. But look, let's get back to football.
Anyway,
funny enough, the next two clubs, Newcastle, Man City. The irony.
God. But
I mean, it's a case of how many in it?
Three. Look, let's get past this game very quickly, because I've got no time for either club at the moment. So I would say routine 3-0 City. Look, it was 3-1. Liverpool won 3-1 the other night, and literally it was a combination of disruptions, and Liverpool literally just tried to win the second half in second gear. If Liverpool didn't have a game on Sunday, I think you'd have seen Liverpool carry on that level they had, and I think Newcastle would have got a hiding. They are so poor. And I keep hearing about, January, they're going to buy that. The way it's going, they can still be four or five points clear, and you'd assume that all these players instantly hit the ground running. How many times? It doesn't happen as often as you think. The likes of a Salah and a Bruno Fernandes who do hit the ground running. Van Dijk did it for us. It does happen, but then you do have some players like Admiral Lallana, literally moved from the south coast to the north of England within the Premier League. It took me years to properly settle into Liverpool and change of manager. No guarantee it's going to just land like that. So, look, 3-0 City. Newcastle will just be a bit of a sorry show, I think, against City. But City,
I think 4, but I genuinely 100% wouldn't be a bit surprised if City ran up 8 or 9.
Wolves FI, to be fair, has been in the chat a few times actually. I've covered it a few seconds ago. Hit the like button. Come on, Pool fans, good vibes. Very good.
Hey, Wolves. Thanks very much, mate.
That's what. Well, the idea of this show is
we're going to get to you now, actually, because look, I can't be bothered talking about Newcastle and City. No, it's going to be an absolute carnage.
I won't be watching it. Yeah.
No, I won't.
To be honest, this is the sort of show we actually want more opposition fans on it because we're trying to talk about other sports and other teams. Quite enjoy talking about other teams. We do try. We are in the future going to try to get some more opposition fans on. Just to be honest, it's different. Like we used to with Joe and Oscar and Pete Selby, people like that. We're going to try and get all them back on.
Just different views on what an outside view on us, and for them an outside view on their situation as well.
It is, because then you can say, well, we can give. I have a perception of Leicester at the moment and a perception of their manager, but I'd love to know from a Leicester fan, and especially with Pete, and Pete's very direct and honest of what he thinks about Leicester, what he thinks. Because Leicester are painted in quite a negative light at the moment, but I do wonder if you're on the inside, what are their expectations? Because maybe they're not quite the same as what we think from the outside. You often find that, don't you? Wolves Chelsea.
Chelsea is a massive game.
It is. I've got a feeling for Wolves. I'm not just saying this because he's just come in the chat. I've just got a feeling for Wolves because I know they got beat 1-0 by us. They got beat 1-0. Was it 1-0 by City?
1-0 by City.
With 10 men. Yeah, there's no Raul Jimenez because he had a brain fart. Despite your and mine arguing, he had a brain fart. He had a brain fart. I'm trying to work out is playing Chelsea the worst thing because it's like 3 big games in a row, or have they kind of got a blueprint now where they go like we took Liverpool to the 95th minute. Now, admittedly, Liverpool missed a lot of chances, but ultimately they took Liverpool to the 95th minute. It took a dodgy penalty, but other than that, they held City fairly well off. City could have had 2. They could maybe have another penalty, but with 10 men, could have got a draw. And Chelsea are in a. It's gone from being a couple of. I think now Chelsea have gone from being, it's just one of those games to it's more than a wobble now. I think it's a bit of it is their dip. Now look, all clubs have them, but they are definitely dropping points that you would. Listen, you and me laugh about this because you know how sarcastic I am and how I get.
Yeah.
But remember when we drew with Brighton and we'd lost to West Ham, and all I was told was, "Oh, hang on a minute. Chelsea never do that. City would never do that. Title's gone. This is all shite. We're absolutely atrocious. We're now 4 points clear. We're now 3 points clear of Chelsea. We're a point off City, and they've dropped points in games that they shouldn't have, and they've made hard work of games that you said they shouldn't do. So it's never as clear as that. Barry's Devaney's pointing out he missed the victory over Brighton. Okay, so Raul Jimenez is back, even better.
Yeah. Reclaimer, I'm got to come back to that if Chris can bookmark that.
Which was that one?
The BT pundits, because I genuinely didn't see it. I was getting ready to come on here with Gav last night. I didn't see any of what was said, so you guys can fill me in on what was said.
I saw it. Oh, mate, it was saying
what
something.
You should have been watching us.
I multitask, mate. I multitask. You on the phone, them on the telly. I was good. It was. We'll go through it later. It was saying something just to be controversial. The logic was bollocks, but it's Jermaine Genius, who used to play for Newcastle and always has a beam in his mind about Liverpool. And Joe Cole doesn't like Liverpool because, quite frankly, he did piss all at the club anyway. So, and there's not been very glowing about his time at Liverpool anyway. So,
yeah,
it's like all the Mo Salah stuff that we keep hearing at the moment. It's just what drives clicks. Say something controversial about Liverpool or Man United. Guess what? Drives loads of clicks, retweets, and then they obviously have, the human fun sponge, which is Jake Humphrey, he's the dullest, most unfunny man I've ever seen in my life, and he tries to.
Was this jokes. About the one where Matip was pushed and fouled before?
Oh no, they talked about that one. No, the one last night was about how Trent's perfectly clean tackle was a clear penalty. Yeah, because apparently,
It wasn't it?
if you look at it, apparently his leg touches the other guy's leg before his foot touches the
Right.
ball, and the logic was, well, we've seen loads of soft penalties in the last 2-3 weeks. So basically, because we've seen soft penalties last couple of weeks, that should fall in that category, so it should be given. You're like, well, but a lot of the
Right.
penalties that we said were soft, a lot argued they weren't penalties, and then it's like, so because Newcastle
Yeah, toward that one end, to be fair, because the two-handed push on Ox straight into his back because.
Now, I don't blame the ref for not seeing that because
there's no way the ref could have seen it. That had to be a VAR decision.
Yeah, Lascelles was cute the way he did it. Actually, he hit it quite well because I was like, because I was like, get up. And when you look at the replay, you're going, that's what VAR is there for.
Yeah,
you go like,
because it looked like an elbow.
Shoulder. You can see he just does that and does the push. It's clever because
it was clever. It was very clever, and fair play. He got away with it, but
we got. But I mean, the other theory was Mike Dean running across Trent as he shoots, which apparently put the keeper off.
Yeah, because the keeper was I mean, I thought the keeper.
He did well to get a hand to it. To be fair.
Yeah, he did amazing to get a hand on that,
if he'd saved that would have gone down as one of the saves of the season because it was that was Gerard Olympiakos esque.
Yeah,
I mean, I did complain about you and Gav because I pretty much said you should just dedicated the whole show last night to Trent's goal. And you didn't, and talk about black pudding. He talks about black puddings. That's disgraceful.
It's Trent, innit? I mean, I saw Trent's interview after, and he said he's been waiting 5 years to twat one like that.
Yeah,
he just absolutely hit it bullet straight.
Because the only one he's come close to was when he scored his first league goal, which was against Swansea. But that was more of it bounced up and he just hit it nice. It was a nice goal. He's been down to that like pile driver goal for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that adds more to it. I mean, as I think they've talked about in the Anfield Wrap, is this something new Liverpool are trying? Pushing Trent more inward? Not in the sense of...
Been doing it all season.
And look, I hate this debate. Should Trent play midfield? Because man says no, we should play it right back. But you wonder with what's going on in the world with players missing out with COVID, are they looking at, well, look, we may have to play Milner or Nico at right back to have some creativity in midfield. So are they just thinking there are certain games going, do you know what, let's just throw him in there because he can do it? I don't think it suits his game. I don't think it suits his game.
If they're going to experiment with it in
a League Cup.
A cup game, in a League Cup. I have no problem with Nico Williams playing fullback. To be fair, anytime he's played there this season, he's been absolutely fine. He's your lock, stock, proper, normal fullback, and that's okay. Not everyone is going to be a Trent.
No. Whereas the benefits Tsimikas has is I still think Andy Roberts is the better fullback. I think he's a better defender. I think he's more consistent, which doesn't need to have a good crossing time as that. But Andy Robertson is a traditional fullback still. The way he play, he's become
he's up and down.
Fullback. He's up and down, but he is the modern fullback, which is up and down, whipping crosses in, and he's getting better now with the undercut, which underlap, which helps. But he's still what you would say Reece James does for Chelsea, or
still gets in great positions. Should score more for me.
Should score. He seems afraid to shoot sometimes, whereas Trent's a very different type of player, and that's why Liverpool play very different ways. Robbo is still the traditional up and down. Man, he cuts in, and look, it's more complicated than that. But the way to explain it, on the right hand side, Trent, Salah, and Henson, it's so interchangeable.
Yeah,
it's like a rotation almost.
It is, and it's playing out that way as well.
Yeah, and not a lot of teams do. And not a lot of teams do that. Look, as good as City don't do that. City's job with their fullbacks is to come in to clog the middle and go outwards. That's what City do.
I just want to quickly get back to Wolves because we're going to get on to Spurs Liverpool in a minute. Look, I've been impressed with Wolves this season. Their only problem for me is scoring goals. Defensively, they're sound. They're solid. At the start of the season, they were more adventurous. I think
they've got the balance right now, haven't they?
I think with Jimenez missing, if he's not available, then the opportunity to play Trincao and Hwang might give Chelsea something to think about with their raw pace and technical ability. Chelsea have some serious COVID and injury problems where, by the looks of it, it's looking like they're going to have to play, what's his name, Kovacic and maybe Kante, both of them coming back from injury. Oh, is Wang injured? All right. Oh, that's pants.
Yeah.
But
look, it's easy to say, like, but can you imagine this Wolves side if Neto was fit?
yeah, I'd love to know. I don't know, Wolves F1, how far away is Pedro Neto?
Last I read, he'd had a setback, and it was
Yeah.
Talk was Feb, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it's
I
a
know
big
Callum
injury.
absolutely loves him. I do as well, to be fair. I think he's a cracking little player.
Oh, me and Callum have fun. I want Callum about him.
Yeah, but
The question is how does he come back? Because it's not like a normally. This is a big one. This is similar to the Joe Gomez knee explosion. It's a hell of a horrible injury. You wouldn't wish it on. He's a lovely.
No.
He's a lovely, fantastic player. And you never see any player, but players like that, you're just like, I hope he doesn't like take off his speed or his pace, and he comes back the same player. Because look, when he's back and fit, he's ridiculously good.
Yeah, he is. I mean, look, I've got Chelsea down for 2-0.
I've got
purely and simply because I don't think we'll score enough. And
do you think Chelsea score enough?
No, but it wasn't from the one to trying against Everton.
But that's been the case.
They'll get that right. Yeah, but they'll get it right. You know what I mean? They will get it right. And in fairness, I think they could really punish someone just almost by default. You know what I mean? At some stage, they're going to put 3 or 4 past someone and get themselves back into it. I'd be more worried as a Chelsea fan.
Hopefully, it's City.
I'd be more worried as a Chelsea fan if you weren't getting chances, or if you were getting maybe 10 efforts on a regular basis. But when you're getting into the mid to high 20s, I think more often than not, you're going to do okay.
Yeah.
Then we're on to Spurs Liverpool. Now, we don't know the story of what's going on.
I had a confident 3-1, thinking you just put Keita in for Chamberlain and go again. That was literally all I thought we'd do. Is Keita for Chamberlain, because to be fair to Keita, he looked good when he came on. He looked lively. Bobby looked like when he came on, he did okay, but he did look like a lad who'd been out injured for a little while. Whereas Keita just came on like he hadn't been away, really, which is a good thing to see.
I think it's his second appearance since he's been back, isn't it?
Yeah, but this one, he really looked like...
Yeah.
It looked like, when you saw him, you went, now that's an impact sub, because he just kept the ball, but still drove Liverpool forward, and, just give something different to Chamberlain. Listen, Chamberlain did fine. He wasn't...
Yeah, I thought he was okay.
He wasn't terrible. He wasn't brilliant.
Yeah.
He was just what I call him. He was a perfect cog in the machine. And to be honest, if Chamberlain keeps becoming a regular cog in the machine, he'll do very well for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because I actually think this is the best I've seen Chamberlain play since his knee injury. And, people forget, even before he had the knee injury, he was like this. He'd have 2 or 3 really good games, and he'd have a dip for 2 or 3, and he'd come back again.
Yeah.
That's how most players are. Most players aren't Mo Salah, who's brilliant pretty much, or does something every game. That's just what he does. So, but now, if you're thinking Henderson's out and you're thinking Salah's out, if those rumours are true, then you probably look at a midfield of Milner, Thiago, Keita, and a front 3 of Jota, Mane, Bobby, if he can do it. If he's,
I think you'd have to give Bobby an hour, and then maybe Ox to change.
Or if he's recovered, Origi's a half-hour change.
Yeah.
Which
the other side of the coin is Spurs haven't played since December 5th, and rust and not being able to train properly for however long, we don't know.
Because I've seen some saying, Spurs be really fresh. Well, they could be. We don't know how long they've been training for, and we don't know who's been training when.
Yeah.
Like Harry Kane, for example, may have never had COVID, may have been fine, and he's been training for 2-3 weeks, which to be honest is probably brilliant for Harry Kane. It's probably what he needs. But if like Son or Lucas Moura have only been training last week, coming back from COVID, Christ knows how they're going to recover from it. We saw last year with Sadio Mane.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He never really got to a level.
I think until the lineups, until the team sheets come out, we don't have a clue, because just the one thing is the big difference between Spurs and Liverpool is Liverpool have been very transparent. Spurs have issued a bog standard block statement and left everyone to their own devices after that. Nobody knows. And the argument is, well, you don't need to know. Well, okay, fair enough. We don't need to know. We're just taking it on trust that the club is being honest, and you have to, I guess.
I would assume, and this is the ambiguous bit, so we don't know this. I would assume that Tottenham might, whoever gets a game called off. So Tottenham had a game called, United have a game called off, Everton is off, I think Leicester's off. You think all those clubs will have to say when they applied to have the game postponed, said, "This is who is out with COVID. This is my list."
Yeah,
you'd
assume they have to provide the certs.
In which case, that's the process. That's fine. They don't have to tell us, but as long as they're telling the Premier League, look, these are my 5 players, 10 players out with it, the Premier League can go, yeah, that's unsustainable. Fair enough, that game's done. But we're down to 5 games now.
Yeah.
And we're a bit like, is that, we don't know Liverpool, if there's 3 or 4 more in Liverpool, that could be down to 4 games. This is where I get Klopp's argument of it won't stop anything, but there isn't also the integrity of the league in terms of, it's not City's fault.
Eddie Howe made that comment, didn't he?
Yeah, because what Eddie Howe's thinking, if you could talk from a relegation point of view, for example,
you're playing 5 games out of 10 every week for a period of time.
Say, for example, Watford hadn't had any games cancelled, but they won all their games. Watford could have like an 8-9 point gap. And everyone's going, you got games in hand. But we all know games in hand is a pressure. Imagine us imagine Liverpool and Chelsea, you were 8 points behind City. Yeah, you got 2-3 games in hand. Yeah, but I've got to play them. Whereas City don't.
Yeah.
Because they've been fortunate that their games have been cancelled. And look, that can't be planned for. So I can see the argument to suspend it, but I can also see the argument of, well, if you don't suspend it, if you do suspend it, you're adding a problem on to later on in the year. So either you've got to cram them all in, or you've got to extend the league. And as you said, there's Nations League football in
there's
June.
The Nations League starts in early June. And
of course, the other elephant in the room is we've got a World Cup in November.
So the actual Premier League season starts early next season and goes on longer.
Yeah, so
the summer break is already short for these players.
Yeah. This is where, there's, in a way, there's no right answer. There's no perfect answer.
And nobody's got a silver bullet with this.
I get a little bit. This is where I try to have social media. I get frustrated when people go, "Well, that won't work. That's a rubbish idea." But if you say to those people, well, "What's the alternative?" They'll give you an alternative, but you can go, "Well, that won't work because of X, Y, and Z." And everyone goes, "Oh, you just being." There's no right answer here. But
the only thing I came up with myself. Sorry,
go on. Sorry.
Go on.
It does feel to me, though. It now does feel to me like some sort of break is almost inevitable now, whether we like it or not. I kind of think that's where we are.
I think if it happens, they've got to knock the FA Cup on the head.
That won't happen.
I know, but if they knock the FA Cup on the head, that frees up a weekend from the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, 6th round, quarterfinal, semi-final.
It does, but
but
that's the FA's. That's the FA's trophy piece. They won't want to give that up. It's like we should have knocked the League Cup in the head for you. The Football League don't want to give it up because it's a cash cow for them. And in fairness, it doesn't. While we think the prize money is not great for a
it's
top
the
side,
gate money I know for the other, but look
for low down the pyramid. If you get Liverpool,
Premier League are already sending money down the pyramid through their plans from last season, and they're still doing that. But at some point,
look at Lincoln getting us. Is it Lincoln? No, it's not Lincoln. Who's got us?
It is Lincoln, I think.
Oh, sorry, the women got Lincoln as well.
Yeah.
I thought I got the wrong side there.
No, is it Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury, sorry.
Shrewsbury.
Lincoln's the women. So the men have got Shrewsbury now. Look, that's become like the unofficial big rivalry in football, Liverpool Shrewsbury, which we'll get into that close time. But for Shrewsbury, potentially the gate receipt they'll get at Anfield, and that'll probably be on telly. Fund Shrewsbury for 2-3 years. And as much as they're getting money at the Premier League, which is great for them, 2 or 3. The money they'll get, that'll sort through for 2 or 3 years, either the ground or facilities, or that could buy them the striker that sends them up the league.
Out of the league. I understand the reasons.
That's why you can't cancel it.
I understand both sides.
It's not me saying I'm a big FA Cup lover, but
no,
I can see why
I get where you come. I get 100%. I get where you're coming from, but there is literally only physically so many games you can play.
Yep,
and the problem is when you've got the top 3 sides in Europe all out of one league, and then you throw Bayern Munich on top of that. And look, Ranić might do something at United as well in Europe.
Mm.
So at some point, it's these delays, these games that are going to be knocked back onto February, March, April. There's going to be a roll-on knock-on effect, and it's starting to look like it's going to be Europe is going to be the one who suffers. The games for us that are the biggest revenue. But I don't know. Look, that's going to be a decision down the line. And all the Premier League managers are meeting on Monday. Hopefully, something is going to they're going to come out of something. But
the way it's going at the moment, they might bring it forward. You might find something out tomorrow.
Our record against Spurs is
we haven't lost there since the last game we lost there was at Wembley when we had the Dejan nightmare.
I think one loss is 17. One loss is 17.
Yeah.
And 26 games away we've scored. Will be a record. If we score on Sunday, it'll be 26 games on the bounce that we scored.
Mm.
I put it down as a 2-0, but
I just 3-1
with
it might be a 2. I still think Liverpool can win.
Yeah,
because Salah, if Salah's out, that's the biggest blow we could have because he's wonderful. We do have Jota though, and Jota is still what Jota does. He's banging and goes ice cold. There is the concern of Manny that he's no goals in 6 now, 7. I mean, to be fair to him, he did everything against Newcastle apart from score. His performance-wise, I think his performance is actually quite good. He's just not sometimes getting the look in front of the goal. I mean,
yeah, I think Sadio's playing really well.
He's just not getting a bit of look in front
of
the goal.
It was just dumb luck last night that he didn't score. He didn't get an assist for that either.
No, I mean, if Salah doesn't bury that chance, you probably are looking at a penalty and a red card. Which I think if you're Newcastle, you're thinking, I think I'd rather just take the 2-1
goal. Yeah, because that could have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going on at Spurs. We have no idea what kind of lineup they're going to put out. They haven't played in a long time. Any niggly injuries they would have had, they'll probably have cleared up a few by now. But if you're going into a game cold, and I mean any game, the last thing you want is a fresh and firing Liverpool who are in a rhythm. So I assume this game is going ahead because the game that Spurs were supposed to play in midweek was because Leicester had it cancelled, wasn't it? I think Spurs were available to play that one.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I think the game's still touch and go, but just what's coming out, it just feels like that might be touch and go. But again, I don't know what the threshold is to pause a game. I generally don't know what the threshold is. No, we'll assume it's going ahead because I would say you're looking at a team. If the rumours are true, let's work on the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
you're looking at Ali in goal, Trent, Matip, Konate, Robbo, Milner, Thiago, Keita, Bobby, Jota, Manny. That's probably your 11. Bench-wise, Kelleher, Williams, Tsimikas, Joe Gomez, Chamberlain, maybe Origi, and then the rest will be kids.
Yeah, Pataluga made the bench the other night. So
2 goalkeepers on the bench. I mean, because at the moment we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're looking at 7 out so far. 7 out, and at the moment only 1's injured.
Only one's injured.
So 8 out. 8 out, 2 injured, which is Elliot and Adrian.
Elliot and Adrian, yeah.
They're the 2 that are injured.
Elliot, Adrian, and Origi, so 9.
Well, yeah, if Origi doesn't make it, I mean, you like.
Yeah, I don't know if he's trained. I haven't seen anything that he's trained, so I assume he hasn't.
So if you assume he's out, then literally our only bench change is going to be Joe Gomez to solve it up. Wild card if you want to throw Tsimikas left wing. I mean, we might have to try something crazy like that.
Spurs Conte won't change from his 3-back. He's 5-back. So they'll go with a 5 no matter what. They'll go with 2 in midfield, and that's where we can have joy. We can force Spurs into dropping Harry Kane or whoever plays as their number 9, dropping in or around whoever is playing our DM role. Thiago needs to sharpen up a bit. I thought some of his passing was ridiculously loose last night. I've seen some players play, some people online claiming he had a really good game and he was...
No, he had some good moments. I think his moments in the build up to one of the goals was really good, but it almost it's almost like Liverpool trying to play in second gear, but it's almost like he got a bit too showboaty. Yeah, a bit lazy, a bit showboaty, very unexperienced. Whereas, listen, if Henderson and Fabinho are out, him and Milner now are the two senior bods.
Yeah.
And Naby, but realistically,
Milner, Thiago, Naby, Ox.
They're your four midfield options. That's it.
They're your four midfield options.
And attacking wise, you've got Firmino, Jota, Mane. That's it. They're the three you've got, and it's kids because the other two forwards are out. The only area actually touch wood we actually look all right is back four and goalkeeper. It's about the only area we actually have got loads of options. I mean, Tyler Morton will be on the bench just because lad's done all right every time he's played for us in the Champions League, so he'll definitely get a run out on the bench.
That's it. James is spot on, actually. He has two absolute brain farts in the game and then does a mad one.
He does.
I just wish if he's got to gamble, it's just a horrible place on the pitch where he plays. If you lose the ball in that position, it's an absolute horror show.
Have you watched the game back, Kev?
I watched it live.
Did you see Thiago's? Have you seen Thiago's reaction after the goal we concede?
Yeah,
he's like Roy Hodgson moments. He's like slapping the crap out of his own head.
Yeah.
I think it's the way.
And he does that a few times. It's just like, I can't believe I just did that. What the hell was I thinking?
It's almost like it's kicking himself.
Yeah.
But
it was the one game that I seen Alisson. I haven't seen Alisson that frustrated.
The wall. He was very angry with the wall, and I think he's very angry with the goal. I mean, I listened to the Echo inside analysing Anfield, and he said one of the biggest strengths of Alisson is he's very rarely beaten by distance.
Very rare. And
very rare.
Happen, but
it was
credit to Shelby.
It was very
good, and he disguised it well.
But he did what he did
because he got a whip on it.
Do you remember when Shelby went to Swansea? He did the same thing, didn't he?
He scored a beaut, of that.
Scored a beaut, and then did a back pass to equalise for us.
Yeah.
the thing with Shelby is, and actually he didn't show that last night, to be fair to him, is it's lack of discipline. That's always what's held him back, is his lack of discipline off the ball and his temper. Because you just know you can wind him up. But you also know off the ball, he just switches off. He's just got that laziness about him.
It reminds me a lot. Do you remember Tom Huddleston?
Yeah.
In a passing range, Tom Huddleston was one of these players that if the game was about 30, 40-yard passes, he'd have been absolutely world-class. Yeah. The problem is the rest of the game involved running and moving and the rest of it, and he just couldn't do it. But Shelby is a phenomenal passer of a football. He's got such a clean strike on him that I can see why Eddie Howe thought when he joined Newcastle first that he's got to put Shelby in that role to dictate. Yeah. And I think from the outside, looking at the squad, you think, okay, I can do that, and I can drop Joe Linton. He's a big lump of a fella. His touch is all right. He can move it and pass it. That's okay. But my God, when you get into that squad, even say Maximin had a glorious chance to put Fraser in one-on-one via Alisson, and he took an extra touch and an extra unnecessary run. And I was just like, that's just Newcastle.
Isn't it mad how bandaged up he is?
Yeah.
Every part of him is tubey gripped. Both wrists, both knees. It's like he's like you're a professional footballer, but he's like tubey gripped up everywhere.
Yeah, he's definitely looking like a bit of like the Michelin Man at the minute.
Yeah. Listen,
Kev, I think that's 5 games, man. That's crazy, and it's 5 flaming games. And
it is.
There's no 12 o'clock kickoff tomorrow, I don't think. There's no lunchtime kickoff on BT.
No. But should we talk about our feature play? Because I've realised it's 11:05.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a wriggle on here. Look, we're going to chat about the Ashes. And look,
England are getting battered.
England
are getting so let's talk about somebody else who scared the shit out of England and a lot of other countries as well. Shane Warne. So
Shane Warne.
How are we going to categorise this? Give the guys what we're thinking for a theme.
For the guys, for everyone in the chat who was here at the start, apart from Dave Lennon, because Dave Lennon was 10 minutes late as usual, we have a brilliant new intro. And part of the intro talks about legends, heroes, icons, mavericks of sports, rebels, you name it,
Rebels.
okay?
Yeah.
And we want to try from a sport that's going on at the minute. So at the minute is cricket going on. There's a couple of good test matches going on all over the world at the minute, but we're going to nominate a couple of players from cricket for the next month, one a week, and we're going to have a quick chat about them, see what you guys in the chat want to say. Ask us free to ask us any questions you want to throw in as well. But then we're going to throw it over to you guys to categorize what they meant, what they were in the sport. And then we'll put it out on Twitter and do a Twitter poll. Whichever one wins goes into that category. And at the end of the season, we'll go back through who's won what category, or we'll come up with a best of that category, decided by everyone in the chat. We'll have a chat about the individuals of heroes, mavericks, whatever. Say if you've got 5 mavericks, 5 heroes, we'll chat about the 5 mavericks, and you guys in the chat decide to categorize them 1 to 5, best, worst, and that's how we're going to have our overall maverick of Sports Unplugged, and overall hero, overall whatever. But I think that's the way we're going to do it. But that's a good way to start. Shane Warne. No one is greater than Warne. No one. Hand it over to him now, fellas. Well, I don't know. Was he the greatest spinner ever? Murray would have an argument with it.
In my eyes, he was. I think he was. It's a phrase. It's a buzz phrase, but he was a complete package. So I used to go up to my grandparents and lived in Barrow, like school holidays, and they'd have cricket on. And I was never interested. And I remember watching, thinking it was just lads who throw the ball dead fast, and lads cracking it. It's a bit dull. And then I remember seeing spin bowling, and I was always like, well, what's the point of that? It's dead slow, and they'll just slap you everywhere. It's ridiculous. And then I saw Shane Warne, and it wasn't the mystery bowl, the Gatting one that everyone talks about, which is ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it. It's unreal. It was the intimidation that he could apply, because he falls in so many categories. He was a maverick in his attitude, and his off the field antics are well documented. He missed a World Cup for failing a drug test because he was taking a fat pill. That's what he did. That's not.
There was something to do with a betting scandal early in his career as well. With I think it was Mark Waugh. Him and Mark Waugh were pulled up on that.
But then some say he's the greatest ever cricketer to never captain his country.
Would agree. I would definitely put him in that category.
Yeah. But what I loved is he had the psychology. I mean, look, sledging in cricket. I mean, you can just YouTube sledging cricket. Shane Warne's put downs were unreal, but he used to say, like, I've got this new delivery. I've got this flipper. It's a new mystery ball. It'll go the wrong way. And people looking for this new ball. Oh, where's this new ball going? Yeah. Half the time, he didn't even have a new delivery. He just sold the same delivery and gave it 4 names. But everyone was so petrified and believed he could do it that they were like, "What can?" And people forget the guy had to have his shoulder completely reconstructed, and things like the googly, which is the ball at the back of your hand, which takes a lot of shoulder strength. He basically couldn't do it anymore, and everyone, that's Shane Warne done. And he just learned to do it a different way. Yeah. And the best way you can know,
you've got different evolutions of Shane Warne, haven't you? You've got Shane Warne at the start of his career, the beach bum, who would, when he first, I think it was, I watched a documentary about him, and his first test match was at Sydney, January 2nd, 1992, against India. Now, if you're a spinner going up against India, that's probably the biggest test you're ever going to see. And Ravi Shastri, who's a brilliant commentator, was opening the batsman for India. And I think Warne finished the test match, something 1 or 2 for 150 odd, 160 odd, something like that. It was tonked all over the place. But Ravi Shastri came up to him after the match and said, young man, you'll bowl worse than that and take 5 in the future. Unbelievable. And Calvin there, Murley took plenty in the subcontinent too. Don't forget that. Warne turned it around corners everywhere, made leg spin sexy. Come back to that in a sec. Go back and watch the 05 Ashes series again. My God. Absolutely despised Warne until 05. Then it all clicked watching him. Must have been how Moses felt when Burning Bush changed my life. Yeah, and the thing is,
that 05 series was ridiculous because
was,
England
yeah.
won it, and for those who are big cricket fans, it was a big thing for England because they hadn't won the Ashes for ages. But as much as England won the Ashes, it was historic. Shane Warne was still probably the best player in the series.
Yeah,
he took the most wickets.
He took like 45, 47 wickets or something in.
Yeah, and you saw things like Kevin Peterson was like slapping people around for fun, scoring like a big 100, and then Shane Warne just bowl a ball, and you just look and go, where the hell is that coming from? Where's that come from? Where's this magic come from? He just did it all the time. I remember his one, was it Paul Collingwood, when they beat him in the 2006 series, and he just went to him. He was being quite confident, Paul Collingwood, he was doing okay, and he just went, you got an MBE, mate, for scoring 6 runs, and then bowled in the next ball. But because Collingwood only played one game, and he played the last game because of the injury. But he just got on people's heads, and people petrified, absolutely petrified of it. And then since he's stopped playing cricket, he's brilliant as a commentator.
He's a great analyst.
Great analyst, but I love when he's done stuff with, I think it was the 09 Ashes series, where he literally came and they did like a masterclass, and he had 3 young English leg spinners, and he was just talking about technique and what you do, and some of it was dead basic stuff. Like, just do this with a ball. He was just flicking a ball with his hand all the time. So get it on your middle finger. And this is what index, and you've got to keep doing that. He said, I would sit there for hours, and that's all I do. He said, it'll hurt, and it'll make your finger raw. And he goes, trust me, then when you throw it, it's like second nature. And it was all little quirks, but the way he analyzes cricket is great. And he just doesn't say the same, but like all comments are the same buzz phrases. It's quite insightful, and I think he's brilliant. He's the reason I actually enjoy watching cricket. I must have disliked him because he always made England look crap.
And
but you couldn't help but respect how brilliant he was. He was unreal.
The thing is with Warne, right? Now, I think like the comment about Warne being the best player never to captain a test match side. Australia had Alan Border, Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting, all in his career. He was so unlucky to have some of the greatest cricketers or cricket batting captains to ever play the game.
There was a time though where Ponting Ponting lost. How many Ashes series did he? Is it 3 he lost?
He lost the
05, 09. He lost 05, 09, and he lost the 10-11 series.
But I don't think he was captain. I don't think he was captain.
He was still captain. He captained a ridiculously long time.
Yeah, and the other side for Shane Warne, unlike Murali, Shane Warne was bowling with 3 of the best fast bowlers in the world at the time in Glenn McGrath, Brett Lee, Jason Gillespie. So, to win a test match,
he had Kasparov as your backup. In any other era, Kasparov would have
started. Even now, he would. It was. To win a test match, you have to get 20 wickets, but you need to score, and you need to be able to score. And you had Glenn McGrath tying up an end. Then you had Brett Lee coming in, bowling up around people's chin. Gillespie was a metronomic bowler who just on the spot, swing it away all the time. And then you had Warne on the other end, locked it off. But you had to gamble against someone.
But he could do both, Warne. He could either lock it up and then just because he had an average of a wicket every 25 runs.
Yeah.
Ridiculous average. And that's in both forms of the game. But he was also an attacking spinner. And for a while, there wasn't really many attacking spinners. The job of a spinner was to hold an end. And, but he developed with what I can do, I can scare teams, and teams won't want. It's almost like I need to survive Shane Warne. I might have a better chance with Glenn McGrath, which is like
good luck with that.
Which is a ridiculous thing. But you literally have people going,
"That was it."
I've got a slightly better chance against Glenn McGrath than I have against Shane Warne, and Glenn McGrath was ridiculously brilliant as well.
Oh yeah, he was.
That's how you were like looking, going, "Oh my god." Which one do I go for?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, reclaimer there, Glenn McGrath was the best bowler for me. Glenn McGrath used to practice, and he said it openly, he used to put a tea towel on the pitch where he wanted to hit the ball, and he bowled it at the tea towel. That's how he practiced. And time and time and time again. He just stayed on line and length. He was 6'4", 6'6", something like that. So he got the steep bounce. He was never express pace, but he was always that quick enough pace to threaten. And it's what England now. I watch England batting now, and they're terrified to leave the ball. And it's the most frustrating thing watching England. They always need to feel the bat on ball.
That's where
it's ridiculous.
Strauss and Cook used to get criticised as well. Said, "Oh, the two defenders they leave it too much." You're like, that's what you need to do. It's what people don't realise in Test cricket. Different to one-day cricket, you've got to go at it more. T20, you really go for it. You've got to go from ball one. Test cricket is if you learn to leave it properly. At some point, they have to bowl to you because they can't keep bowling it. And you get loads of maidens, great, but eventually you've got to get them out. That's the idea of the game. Yeah. So eventually they come to you. And Al Scott was great going, I have certain shots that I am brilliant at. So I'll just wait for them to come off. And he would quite happily go 5-6 overs, leave everything. Don't mind. And then he'd go.
And then as the bowlers got tired, and later on in the day, they cash in. I mean, the thing is, the other side of it is when Warren came in 92, leg spin bowling, you had the likes of John Embry playing for England, little finger dobblers that just like you said, tie up and then do a little bit, Peter Such and all of them lot. But before that, for the 70s and 80s, it was raw pace from the West Indies that won your test matches. And that was what everyone believed. England had Gladstone Small and the likes of Phil de Freitas, Angus Fraser, medium Doppler, but always accurate. There was no spinners until Warren came on. And then Warren came on the scene.
He gave more Ashes. I mean, everyone looked for the next Shane Warne, though.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, you're never going to find the next Shane Warne. Look, England did well because they got Graham Swan. It wasn't a leg spin bowler. It's a different type of spin bowler. But then people saw the benefit of having. I mean, England don't have a.
Yeah. Calvin is in the chat there. Calvin might know. I can't remember for the life of me. Australia had a second leg spinner.
Stuart McGill.
That was him, and he could spin it more.
Yeah, he
spun it a lot more than Warren. Yeah. But he wasn't as precise. And you just look at him and you thought, for his career, he did really well. He had a really good career.
He's actually born for if he's born for any other country.
Yeah.
Maybe not India, because India still had fantastic spin as well. But
Anil Kumble.
Or if he was born 20 years later, if McGill was playing now in his prime, he'd be playing international cricket and he'd be one of the best spinners around. It's just unfortunate that Shane Warne existed. It's like it was like whoever's the backup striker to Messi. As good as you were,
it's our problem with
you're not Messi.
It's our problem with Trent. It's like no matter how good you are, you're not that.
Well, say with the backup right winger, we get a backup right winger. You go, yeah, he's really good, but he's not Mo Salah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shane Warne is probably in the top 5 cricketers of all time. I think you could easily class him as an all-rounder. His batting was very, very underrated. Even though he never got a century,
99.
He got into the 90s a fair bit.
99 was his top score.
Yeah, 99 was his top score. But him coming in at number 8, and I mean, you knew McGrath was a walking wicket. But he was coming in at 11. But if you had Shane Warne coming in with Gilchrist at 8 and Ponting at 6, Gilchrist was at 7, Ponting at 6 in the early days. Warne at 8. You had Brett Lee at 9 who could tonk it a bit. And then you had Gillespie and McGrath who were walking wickets.
In the 05 series, the best thing that happened to England was Shane Warne kicked his wicket over.
Because he
went to block. He went to block one, and he accidentally stood in his wicket and obviously eliminated himself out. Because England couldn't get him out. He was a decent batsman. He was hard to get out. He didn't give his wicket away. And people forget he's a brilliant slip catcher, which is why 05 was so surprised because he drops a dolly, which you don't expect. He had 125 catches, most of them at slip. 125 test catches, 80 in one-day internationals. That's a lot.
That is. I mean, look, it was grand. As long as you could, if you're a good slip catcher, Australia had the pace bowlers to keep you in the game.
That's what he's always in the game, and then he was the vice captain. So when Ponting needs to go for rest, he's then take it over. I mean, the talk was Ponte used to go mad because Ponte used to go off. He'd change the complete field and set up and it'd be more attacking actually the way he wanted to be, which used to drive Ponte mad because like he had a plan and Shane Warne, I have my own plan.
Yeah,
you know that it was you take the rough with the smooth. As someone put in the chat, wonderful hair, both versions.
Yeah. So SK Warren, how would you guys categorize him? Maverick, legend, rebel. I mean, he's definitely in the top 5 cricketers ever. He's probably the greatest spinner ever.
Yeah, you could honestly put him in all those categories for different reasons.
But if you're looking at Shane Warne, the cricketer, not Shane Warne, the personality, because
he's legend.
Shane Warne is a great poker player as well. He's made probably more money playing poker than he has ever playing cricket. Yeah. So,
look, he's a legend to me because he said he's definitely in the top 5. If you ask me who's my favourite cricketer, it is Shane Warne. It's just what he could. You know, I would actually go watch Australia play when they went playing England, just so I could see what he could do. And he do unreal stuff, and you just go, that's just not normal. You know, I've not seen this sort of stuff. That's what got me into cricket. I mean, obviously at the time England were horrific, so you're a bit like, I'd rather watch Australia because actually, at least it's interesting.
Wasn't a bad boy, was he?
Had his moments.
Yeah. He was. He liked the beer.
He liked the beer.
He actually played when before he ever broke into international cricket. He came over to England, and he played in Bristol at a club that I used to work across the road from the club that he played for. And by all accounts, the 17-year-old Shane Warne at I think it was Whitchurch Cricket Club in Bristol. He liked the beer. He liked a lot of beers, and he was definitely well acquainted with the local nightclubs. And that didn't stop throughout his career. Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about him another time.
During this...
If you look at wicket-keeping batsmen now...
everything...
That is the prototype.
Talk about defining a position in it.
Yeah.
Because Alan Knott was probably the greatest wicket-keeper I ever saw. And I only saw the tail end of Knott's career because Jack Russell took over for England. And Jack Russell was a phenomenal wicket-keeper.
Do you remember the
Gilchrist batting?
Do you remember the squash ball thing with Gilchrist? That was ridiculous. And people don't know what it was. He developed a massive blister on his hand, which affected his batting. And someone said, cut a squash ball on, put it over it, so you won't feel the pressure. And this was for like a one-day international final. When he opened the bat and he got 100, and Australia won quite comfortably. Just little innovations that we go, things like that. But if you look at, like, people talk about England's wicket-keeper bats at the moment, Butler, who's ridiculous, especially in one-day cricket, different level.
But I don't
go watch Gilchrist. That's what
Butler is nowhere near the cricketer.
No, it's certainly not glove wise. Yeah, Alex Stewart was a very good wicketkeeper batsman.
Yeah,
he wasn't Gilchrist level, but he was very good.
Yeah. Gilchrist was just so explosive. I mean, Alex Stewart used to open the bat in. He could bat at 6. He opened with Atherton. He could bat anywhere in the top 6 because he could adjust the tempo of his.
Until you change your name to just Steve. Yes, Steve. There's going to be loads of cricket just to upset you more than anything else.
Sorry, dude. He won't let me talk about F1 or sandwich maker sandwiches. So what can I do?
I'd rather talk about sandwich maker sandwiches than F1. To be fair, look, if you want to know a bit more about Shane Warne, it's on YouTube. ESPN Legends of Cricket. It's about
great series.
It's about 40 minutes long. It pretty much sums up his playing career and his highlights and his off the field antics really well. Yeah. So, but look, we'll put a poll up probably tomorrow. More work for Gav, so that's us in trouble again.
Yeah.
But what are you putting, Kev? What category are you going to put him in?
I think he's a legend. He is a legend, to be fair.
I think he's a legend. I think he's a legend as well. We'll have to try and find a rebel. Try to think of a good rebel.
Oh, I can think of a few.
Okay.
Don't worry. I've been thinking. When I saw the intro earlier, I was thinking. I've got some names. We're going to get some really, really good names over the next few weeks and months.
There will be other sports as well. We're just doing cricket at the moment because the Ashes is on, so it's more prominent.
Yeah,
but we will do other sports as well, and we'll probably get some guests on who are a bit more specialist in other sports as well.
Yeah,
to
100%.
Give them their opinion.
There's nothing on tomorrow, I don't think, with the Trippers. We're having a day off. Sunday back with the Fatback 4.
And your post-match.
We're doing a post-match, and then we're doing...
If it happens.
If it happens, we'll do a post-match, so make sure your notifications are on. Fatback 4 will be on Sunday night, and Gav will fill everyone in on what's going on next week, because next week's going to be a bit of a madness.
We're on Thursday, aren't we?
What's going on.
We're on Thursday next week.
We're going to be on Thursday night next week.
We can't do Christmas Eve because we both get divorced. Not from each other, but we would definitely get divorced if we do Christmas
lines
Eve.
Drawn already in my house for
my line was drawn as well. You are not doing Christmas Eve, so we asked Gav, could we do Thursday? So we'll do Thursday instead. We'll
have a chat Thursday night.
But
if you guys could hit the like, subscribe, all that lovely good stuff. Throw some suggestions in the comments as to who you guys would like to see included, in what category you'd like to see these guys included in, and we'll get them all in.
Yeah, a viewers debate would be good. Also,
absolutely, 100%.
I'll plug my own show as well.
100%.
Women's shows are out. So we did the last one with myself, Neil Atkinson from the Anfield Wrap, and Emma Sanders from the BBC, who was excellent as she always is. So that's out. It's on YouTube. We just do a bit of a review of the past month, because we haven't got a game now until the new year, and then there are still the interviews. We've got Megan Campbell's interview, which came out a couple of weeks ago, so give it a watch. They're doing well. You know, they've into the quarterfinals of the League Cup, into the fourth round of the FA Cup, and we're currently top of the league. So, you know, it's got all going well, all go off both sides of Liverpool.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, on that note, we're going to let you guys go in and get to bed. Thanks very much for staying in the chat. We absolutely are really appreciative of everyone who's there. If you could click the like and subscribe, as we said, we'd be eternally grateful. Thank you all very much for watching. Good night.